I am not speaking on behalf of the two other jury members. They will be speaking to you later on. But after listening to the arguments in favor of Vice Chancellor at the end of the proceedings, and before that, listening to the arguments against Vice Chancellor and the charges against him that have been put by the learned members sitting here, I get an idea that JNU is being moved backwards probably, and Vice Chancellor considers himself to be either living in 14th, 15th, 16th century or something, where his word should be the law. He doesn't have probably an idea that that era is over. He is no more a king or a Nawab or a Raja, and JNU is not his kingdom. He has to move according to laws, rules and regulations. I think he has violated, in my opinion, he has violated a large number of rules and regulations. And I'm amazed that he still continues to be Vice Chancellor of the university. I'm amazed at your patience, and I'm amazed at the patience of these students, that they are not demanding immediate dismissal of the Vice Chancellor. I think that the Vice Chancellor has come to the university with some kind of mandate to not only violate the rules and regulations, but push the university towards closure, which is a very dangerous thing to have happened to any university. This university is one of the most precious universities in the country. And it's very unfortunate that such a person presides as the Vice Chancellor in this university. I think that the charges against him have been very well argued and have been probably proved. I'll give my detailed comments in written form, but after listening and being part of the jury, I think that one should demand immediate dismissal of the Vice Chancellor.
If you don't mind, I'll speak sitting here. The facts that have been presented by the faculty are extremely troubling and disturbing. Institutions take decades to build. Institutions are institutions and can remain institutions if they are not run by whims and dictates of single individuals, but by the safeguards that are built to avoid exactly what is happening in the present case. And this is something which is really extremely worrisome, because these are, the charges that have been detailed. If they're able to go ahead with that, I think it will harm the university forever. If the faculty positions are really filled without attention to merit, to specializations, to the nature of the selection committee, then what has been achieved over the years, the kind of excellence that has been achieved, the kind of thoroughness that has been achieved by JNU and by the research, in the research programs that it conducts, it's going to be a very, very serious loss to the standards that have been set. And therefore, one feels very strongly that this process has to be brought to a stop somehow. and that the administration and the VC has to be held accountable for how they are breaking the various statutes and taking on the power of the various bodies that have been formed. It almost seems that these bodies are redundant. You do not need an academic council, you don't need an executive council if all the powers are vested in the vice chancellor. But if these bodies have been formed, he has to have the patience, even if he wants to change, to wait as it takes its course through the statutes. Everyone has to wait, because institutions should not be run on whims and fancies. They evolve with the wisdom and the experience of the institution as it grows. So I personally very strongly feel concerned about what is happening in the case of selection of faculty. What is also to be borne in mind, which everybody knows, that as universities are spaces of freedom, spaces of questioning, a culture of sycophancy, a culture of fear, a culture of uncertainty is definitely not going to allow that. And to destroy a university atmosphere, particularly of a university like JNU, where I have not studied but always looked at for a place, a kind of longing that I wish I had the opportunity to be here, to be able to learn not just in the field of academics but life and politics, which is so crucial to people, growing as young adults to their spirit of inquiry. So trying to crush that, trying to undermine transparency. Transparency is, again, I think, very important cornerstone of any institution, but particularly of academic institutions, which is dealing with young people. If they do not respect the process, if they do not respect the authority, they will not be able to respect what they're learning. And that's something which would be a very big loss. And I think as far as the Article 3 is concerned, I mean, it's inexcusable. It seems completely inexcusable that so many students have been denied the opportunity to do their research. One just doesn't understand, as he said, that I'm amazed that a person who has been put in position to look after the welfare of an institution, to further the institution, is at every step undermining that process. And that's something which is extremely disturbing. So, that not only is he defying the CIE Act, going against affirmative action, denying opportunity to large number of students in research, wastage of resources, as all these charges that have been detailed, and unconstitutional action in reducing opportunities for the reserved candidates. All these are absolutely inexcusable, I would say, crimes, and he should be made immediately accountable.
First of all, I would like to thank the JNU Teachers Association for organizing this event, this trial of pressing charges against the Vice Chancellor, because it has been a very valuable information disseminating exercise. I have taught in this university for 37 years and I retired 7 years ago. I still remain connected to the university as emeritus professor. I visit regularly. I still supervise PhD students who have re-registered after many years. But I was not aware, quite frankly, about the wide scope, the depth and the extent of the violations of not only the JNU ordinances and statutes, but of the very act which set up JNU in the first place in 1966, and this was an act of parliament. So violation of that act, provisions of that act, is a very serious matter. It should be a matter of national concern, not just of concern to the JNU community. And furthermore, it has become very clear through the very excellent and detailed presentations which have been made by the present faculty members who press these charges, that not only the act which set up JNU and the existing ordinances and statutes of JNU have been violated, but the national policy on reservations and on affirmative action has also been violated. So these are extremely serious matters. Those presenting their case ask the question, is this accidental? And that question will arise in everyone's mind to begin with. Was this simply a result of ignorance, of inexperience, from a person who has never been the head, probably, of an important academic institution before? But when we look at the systematic manner in which these violations have been carried out, then it becomes very clear that it is not unwitting, but willful and deliberate violations of these statutes and regulations. And I agree with my previous speakers, the respected jurors from outside the university, that this has to be taken very, very seriously. And of course, we know that the university should be a space for completely free expression of views and of debate. 2000 years ago, Aristotle had pointed out that any argument which is argument ad baculum is a fallacious argument. Now, ad baculum actually means breaking the head of the person you disagree with, and that is not a valid method of argument at all. And a university is a space where people of completely divergent or even opposite viewpoints should be able to meet, should be able to carry on a rational discourse, and should try to persuade each other through rational discourse. But clearly what has been happening is that the measures which have been taken over the last 18 months, and I'm really quite shocked when I look at the totality of these measures which have been presented today, the objective has been to destroy that space for free debate and free discussion. The objective has clearly been to actually project only a particular viewpoint, a particular ideology. And these are simply the methods through which it is being done. I would draw your attention to a much used word which has been floating around for the last couple of years, that of corruption. Now, usually we think of corruption as being associated with some kind of monetary or material gain. But there is another very insidious and dangerous form of corruption, and that is intellectual corruption. And under intellectual corruption, I would include the abandoning of moral and ethical values. So when there is a complete giving up of any attempt at fair play, when there is a complete abandoning of even the pretense of even-handedness, after all, our statutes and ordinances and rules don't exist in the abstract. They have a certain purpose. And as the first two presenters made very clear, the purpose of these rules and ordinances is to ensure that there is fair play, that there is no discrimination in either the admission process or in the process of selection of faculty. No discrimination arising on the basis of gender or caste or political views or social background or economic background. And that is what this university has always striven for. And this is what the giving up of these values is what I would call intellectual corruption. And that has now penetrated this university to the extent that I find only about 30 to 35 faculty members sitting here. Why? The School of Social Sciences alone has hundreds of faculty. Where are they? Why are they not attending this meeting? But nevertheless, despite what I would call a rather poor attendance, I think this exercise has served a very valuable purpose that of disseminating information about the true state of what is going on in JNU today. And I would suggest that we treat this as a kind of rehearsal. This is not a real trial and a real jury. It is a rehearsal, but it has to be converted into reality. And I have not much legal knowledge, but I think the arguments which have been presented today, to my mind, suggest that a very strong legal case can be made for class action. And I mean a regular approaching of the courts with a legal case. And by class action, I mean not action by individuals, but action by teachers as a class, the teachers of this university. Because their conditions of service are being violated, the conditions under which they teach, the conditions under which they get, the number of students they get to teach or to supervise, that itself is being violated. The basic moral rationale for being a teacher at all is being violated. If I don't have students to supervise, what am I doing? Why should I draw an income from the university at all? So a very strong case can be made out, not only on the basis of the violation of the statutes, but of the very principles on which these statutes and regulations are based. And that is what I would urge the JNU Teachers Association to consider very seriously. Because anything we say here will be like water off a duck's back, as far as this particular Vice-Chancellor is concerned. It will not affect him in the least. But if there is a case in the courts, which is a class action case, well, then the university and the administration, the Vice-Chancellor and the administration, which is with him, will have to sit up and take notice. So this is just a suggestion. As I say, I have no legal expertise in the matter, but this can be, I think, fruitfully explored. Thank you very much.